I mean, I think they are objective and therefore can never be out of date. If you think they're outdated, you don't think they're objective, in which case they've always been out of date, in the sense that it was never have mattered if they were in date or not. It's true that the language of virtue is a language that we're, broadly speaking, pretty allergic to these days. And it's interesting, even Machiavelli puts virtu right at the centre of his sort of political philosophy. And there's some interesting work happening in Harvard by a chap called James Hankins, talking about the politics of virtue. And my friend Danny Kruger in Britain is a very promising young conservative thinker and politician who's calling for a politics of virtue. And similarly, actually, on the left as well, somebody like John Milbank. So that language is coming back a little bit, and I certainly prefer the language of virtue to the language of values. And the talk about, there's this endless debate in British politics, and we need to recover and articulate and defend British values. Now, I think as soon as you're having to attach an adjective like British to the word values, it's game over. Because effectively what you're saying is that these values are unique to us, or they're special to us, therefore they are basically relative. They are relative, their values relative to us. And I think values that are relative to one particular people but not another are not values worth having at all. It's true to say that virtuous action and virtues will be exemplified in different communities in different ways, depending on all sorts of contingent circumstances. But they are basically timeless. Now, whether or not there are 7, whether there are the capital virtues, whether it's just 4 plus 3, the Cardinal, plus the 3 theological, I mean, yes, one can always say that the list is too short or the list is too long. But I think that approach is a much more sensible one. These are these are virtues, not values. They've persisted through time. We know what we're talking about, and we understand how to cultivate them. We might be nervous about trying to make them central to public policy. There's a lot of neuralgia around that, especially where it's quite clear that certain virtues are not shared or not shared in the same way. How, for example, in a secular society, do you articulate the theological virtues? I mean, there are secular versions of faith, obviously, and there are secular reductions of love and secular interpretations of hope, or politicized pictures of hope. Now, I think politicizing the theological virtues has basically been a catastrophe for secular society, but it's not easily done. It can't just be applied no matter what. It does presuppose a certain set of moral attitudes and a certain moral consensus within a society. But I think overall, and in conclusion, I would stress the need to return to the language of virtue and to be confident in articulating it, and to understand that it's not sectarian, that it draws on the great Christian traditions, the Jewish traditions, that it's perfectly intelligible to the Islamic traditions, and it also doesn't ignore the great taproot, that other great taproot of Western civilization, Greek and Roman moral philosophy.